AC Variety takes pride in showcasing the stories that the big networks have no interest in telling. This is one of those stories.
Okay, a little,
scare the kids.
little bit of laughter right here in the Veterans Garage, but an awesome experience, and we're going to share some of that with you right now. A lot of people know this gentleman, needs no introduction, but I'm going to ask him to introduce himself anyhow. And you are, sir?
Joe Warner.
Okay, this is Joe Warner. And there's so much activity, Joe. I know we walked away for a minute and walked around. We want to finally nail you down because this man is on high demand here. There's so many projects going on right now. Of course, we initially came here because of the Nike gray missile that was being restored here for the city of Oak Forest Park District. But there's so much more going on around here. Can you just give us an overview of what you have going on here and your involvement?
You're at what we call the Veterans Garage.
Okay.
And we call it that because it's a place that really belongs to veterans. I'm not a veteran. I didn't serve, but my father did, my father-in-law did, both in World War II. And I've always had an affection for veterans and their plight and what they did, what they sacrificed for our freedom. And without sounding corny about it, I'm going to spend the rest of the opportunity I have on this earth to do things that are beneficial to veterans.
Bless you, man. I hear
And I've run into a lot of organizations, and there's a lot of wonderful organizations out there doing things for veterans. We needed to try to find something a little different, and I actually stumbled across it in buying a 2.5 ton troop transport back in 2006. I didn't know you could buy a military vehicle.
Okay.
I found out through a friend who had one. 2 weeks later, I bought one off of eBay, believe it or not.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, was it like Army surplus, or where do you...
Yeah, they start as Army surplus.
Okay.
And then the Army distributes them or sells them. Gave them away back in the 40s for a while. But then people started acquiring them. A lot of guys that bought them were companies that needed them on farms or for logging, that kind of stuff. Who needed?
Talk about a super heavy-duty vehicle.
Heavy trucks. Yeah, they're very, very powerful trucks. So fast forward to this time, people are now restoring them, bringing them back to their original design and look, and using them like we do to honor veterans. So we started out doing that. I met a group of guys that restore military vehicles, learned a lot about what it takes to do it and how to do it, because I'm not a mechanic, I'm a plumber. I'm mechanically inclined, but I've not worked on engines or any such thing. But the more people that I met, the more I found that there's a whole network of military vehicle owners out there. There's even another organization called the Northern Illinois chapter of the Military Vehicle Preservation Association.
Wow.
Try saying that fast real quick.
No, I'll go with the initials. That's right.
And I was a member of that organization after I bought my first vehicle. For a few years, I actually was on their board. Great group of guys, and I learned a lot from them. But I started to get more of an affection for actually working on the vehicles.
Okay.
Not just going to events. And so I was able to lease a tenant space in a building in Mokina for a while. I bought another vehicle, started working on that.
There we go.
And off it goes.
Yeah.
They actually call it OD fever.
Okay.
For olive drab.
Yeah.
And I've got it because I now own 11 vehicles.
Wow.
But part of the reason for doing that was to end up with a collection of diverse vehicles representing different eras and a little unusual, so that they were maybe more interesting to people in parades or at static displays.
Now, I've seen some, not to interrupt, but I've seen some of your vehicles in parades, and I've noticed different branches of the armed forces, some of your vehicles.
Yes.
And I think, that is brilliant. That's
Well, that was one of my focuses too, was my dad being in the Navy.
Okay.
The running joke has been, when are you going to get a ship? When are you going to, or not when are you going to get a ship, when are you going to have a Navy vehicle?
Right.
And I tell him, as soon as I can get a boat on a trailer on the street. And we might actually be getting close.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But my first focus was to have more than just Army vehicles. So we have a couple of Marine vehicles. We redid an M37 pickup truck, which we'll show you.
Okay.
And that's an Air Force truck. The other thing I do is that all the vehicles that I own are dedicated to somebody who served, including Private Aaron Toppin from Mokina, who was killed in action in 2014. And I have a Humvee that's dedicated to Aaron Toppin and his family. So we keep that story alive when we're working on vehicles, so that people that come here that are not veterans get a sense of that as well. We're not just fixing a Jeep. In the case of the Jeep behind us, that's being restored and refurbished for a retired lieutenant colonel.
Okay.
Still alive, older gentleman, can't work on it himself.
Yeah.
And so that's what we offer ourselves for too. The garage is open to people that have military vehicles that can't work on them or don't want to take them to the average garage. That we'll bring it here, or they can bring it here. We'll work on it, all volunteer labor, and the only thing that anybody pays for would be whatever parts we have to buy.
Sure.
So I often say, we don't buy anything, we don't sell anything. We're just here. And if people want to come here and volunteer, they can. If they don't, that's okay. If they want to come and drive a truck, they can drive one of mine. If they want to ride in a truck, they can ride in a truck. So there's a lot of different things we can do. For veterans organizations, we're happy to go and set up a static display. Mm-hmm. We're happy to transport veterans in a parade. Ceremonies, in fact, we're taking a young man and his groomsmen from their hotel to their wedding ceremony this afternoon.
That is brilliant. Have you ever done anything like that before?
Actually, we did a wedding for a retired, let's see, I think she was a sergeant major and he was a command sergeant major. Wow. And we brought the trucks to their wedding. When the wedding was over, they got in our trucks and we did a convoy from the wedding to the reception. Wow. And they were greeted there by all of the people at the reception.
Talk about high impact, good memory.
Yeah. Oh, and welcome home escorts. We do a lot of those.
That's got to mean so much.
Yeah, there's a community of veteran bike clubs.
Yes, I've seen a lot of them out on the road.
Okay. That's how we got connected with the escorts. Was people that I knew would call and say, "Hey, why don't you guys bring some trucks out? We're going to welcome home so and so," and that spiraled into we do it whenever we can.
Yeah, a lot of the veteran bike clubs. I noticed there's a lot of law enforcement guys involved with that stuff, and gals.
Yeah, and that's partly because a lot of them are veterans themselves.
Sure, that's right.
You know, it's a community that's so interesting to be involved in at this level. Where if I was just raising money to give something to veterans, I wouldn't get the same connection that I do here. I mean, I'm standing here among a group of Vietnam veterans, a Desert Storm veteran. The conversations we get to have that are just casual conversations are just, I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
Well, I mean, dude, at this point, we've touched on a lot of interesting subjects and tantalizing our audience. Can you show us some projects?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'll give you kind of
whatever.
a quick spin around here, and then I'd like to show you the two rooms that we have in here that are for display of memorabilia, things that veterans have brought here. But we'll start here.
Stay with us. Stay with us. Okay.
The main project right now is the Nike missile. This is a Nike Hercules missile from the 1970s. As many folks would know that have seen it, it was standing in front of the Park District in Oak Forest since 1975. And the booster section, which I think you'll see.
We took some video.
Did you? Okay, great. That section was made of steel and it was rotting miserably and in danger of potentially falling over. Yeah. And so the Park District, because they know of us, contacted us and said, "Is there something you can do to help us with the missile?" And we said, "Yeah, we'll take it down, we'll restore it, we'll put it back up again," which we've done. We've taken the missile. It was media blasted to the bare metal. Okay. It was then coated with 2 coats of epoxy by a wonderful company. I'm going to give them a plug, Crown Painting in Frankfurt. High quality painting company, but what they do mostly is bridges, water towers, that sort of thing.
The durability kind of stuff you have to have.
Exactly. We knew that we had the right resource with Crown. Mike Converse is a super guy and has an affection for these things as well. So they media blasted it, then put 2 coats of a 2-part epoxy paint on it, or primer, and then 2 coats of a urethane overcoat. That's the finish you see now. And they're going to do the pedestal and the base that the missile's going to sit on when those
Okay.
are done.
Well, given what description you tell me of the materials, what kind of longevity are you expecting this new installation to be like?
40, 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
They shouldn't have to touch this again for a long time. Other than maybe to, if it gets dirty or something.
Sure.
But,
Yeah, pressure wash or whatever.
and that was our focus, was not just to do a nice restoration, but do a proper restoration, meaning we think in terms of, is it going to last? How long is it going to last? Because, if it's funding, if you're asking people for money, or if it's being funded by a tax paying or a tax organization, you want the taxpayers to get the best they can get for the least possible price.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, since all the labor is free,
Yeah, couldn't
we
get
can
any-
focus on
yeah.
making sure that the things that we have to pay for are as good as they can be.
Again, the quality of the workmanship, and I know you fabricated some additional pieces for this missile that'll be part of the display, and all about it. Hey, again, we're highly demand here. You just heard the phone. At this point too, take advantage of this beautiful weather outside, and you being a Navy guy too, right?
Yeah.
I thought I saw a boat out there. Or can you
Yeah,
can we walk out there for a
Sure,
minute?
absolutely.
Okay, let's do it. If you want to get that call first or anything, or. And at this point, you know what, folks? We're going to take a quick break as we're on way out to the, I guess you would call it a boatyard right here at the Veterans Garage. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
SEALs, everybody knows. The Sea Wolves for UE gunship helicopters. All volunteer squadron called Sea Wolves.
Okay.
And that's what I was in.
Oh.
So there's a tie there between the river boats and the sea and the SEALs. And
Most of the Navy
Sea Wolves.
Vietnam were volunteer.
all volunteers. Yeah, in country.
Wow.
So kind of a unique story. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Heartfelt and impressive also.
What's that?
Heartfelt and impressive
Oh.
also. I'm sorry. I didn't even realize we were rolling here. Wow. Okay.
I didn't either.
We're outside right now. He does that. He does these surprise roll-ups on
The
us.
best way.
And yeah, really, because otherwise you're not going to get all these guys together in one space. But real fast, we just had a quick story. We'll find out who we were just listening to. And you are, sir?
John Lynn,
Okay. And background military?
Sea Wolf door gunner, UE gunship, and spent 3 years over there. But a second tour, enjoyed it, except for losing buddies, of course. And actually flew 558 combat missions as a door gunner.
Wow.
And like I said, I enjoyed every bit of it. Because
Wow. My hat's off to you, brother. Thank you
Oh.
for your service.
oh, you're welcome. And like I said, we were involved with the river boats and SEALs and stuff. So there's a little story there. It's kind of pretty cool.
Yeah. 500 missions, God. And you, sir?
Well, I'm not the war hero like this guy. I was in the river patrol force, and I was up along the Cambodian border at 2 different locations.
And Cambodian border on the river?
Yeah, we were probably
I'm
2 or 3 miles from the
Yeah,
border.
I was going to say that's serious business that I don't know if I would have the guts to do.
Sure you would. You just do what you have to do.
I
I have no doubt.
thank you for that compliment. Because when you're asked to serve, you serve, and you're in some dangerous area there. And
That's true, but I don't know about John, but we always made the best of everything that was handed to us. We had fun.
okay, quick comparison. We're in a little hot, humid. How does that compare to being on the river in Cambodia there, on the border there?
Actually, up there was pretty much almost always a breeze.
Really?
Yeah, and
Coming
then-
down the river.
Coming
or
up,
just
coming up the
crosswind
river,
somewhere?
and and then my typical uniform was a pair of khaki basketball shorts and low cut
Were you
white
able to
Converse
on-
All Stars.
Okay.
That was it. And then
Is that regulation?
And then at night I might wear a t-shirt, and in the rainy season I wore a black sweatshirt.
Okay.
So to keep me warm, because it's 60 degrees or whatever it gets in the rain, you start getting wet. So
Yeah.
my parents were kind of surprised. I sent a letter home asking if they could send me that.
Right. What's
Yeah.
the sun doing?
I never drank coffee until there because I'd be chilly.
Yeah,
You'd
yeah,
be shaking. Yeah,
absolutely,
so that's when I started drinking coffee.
All right. You talk to vets and you hear, the day-to-day stuff, and then you hear what you did to adjust the situation.
Our uniform, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I
So
would cut off jeans, flight boots, period.
Yeah.
Period. If I wasn't in a flight suit, yeah.
I had a friend of mine that was probably 68, more toward 1970. Anyhow, his CO used to tell them they had to like be clean shaven all the time. He said if anything, because they were heavy jungles, search and pursuit stuff. Okay, and a lot of times just wearing the bottoms of the uniform.
Right.
But the CO's theory was keeping you looking clean shaven every day. You're one step above a savage. I know I have a horrible thing to say, but the idea is
Why would you want to be above it?
right. Yeah, because believe me, where my buddy was, sorry, you had to fight and live, and he came back to tell about it. But the idea is, I understood where he was coming from. In other words, he was in a tough outfit, and you had to stay that way to come back home.
Sure.
So, at that, we can take a quick break here, and we're gonna eventually get to the seaworthy item here over here, and stay with us. Again, we're gonna take another quick break. Clem, if you like, I have a forklift you can put out to an aerial.
The Army had PBRs also.
Okay.
They were part of the 458th Transportation Company, and they were assigned, I think, to either the 8th or the 12th MPs. I think their headquarters originally was in Vung Tau,
Okay.
and that's right on the coast. And I think they had about 40 to 50 boats, and so there's 4 men to a boat. So
I was just going to ask you that, and the defense armament or weapon systems on this vessel would be. Can you kind of describe that?
in the front they had a gun tub
Okay.
that had twin 50 calibers, M250 caliber.
All right.
In the back, they had a pintle. On the initial Mark I's, they went to Vietnam in '66. They had a 30 caliber. Now that was not very good, so they ended up putting the 50s
Okay.
on there.
Yeah.
And then amidships, there was at the engines they had some shields that came up, and they had pintle-mounted M60 machine guns. It's a 7.2,
Mm-hmm.
0.62. And then all the crew members pretty much had M16s and had M79 Grenade launchers.
Wow. Okay.
And then they also had a made by Honeywell. It was a crank grenade launcher.
Oh my God! I'm thinking of
So
a Gatling gun or something.
it was belted.
Yeah. Okay.
And so they had 2 different models. They had I think it was the M18 and the M19.
Okay. What was? First of all, did it operate or did it ever jam or anything like that?
Yeah, they had some issues with jamming. I think
Okay.
maybe on the 18.
Okay.
And it all depends on how the gunners took care of his.
And
his
as far
weapons.
as delivering the firepower, when that was used, was that awesome firepower? And
Oh yeah. And then some people will say that these boats had a combination 81 millimeter 50 caliber machine gun. That was on the Swift boat.
Okay.
PCF, patrol craft fast. Now they came up the rivers too later in years. Their initial function was to be on the coast and in the bays and stuff, interdicting supplies and people.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
these they got these because they realized that more stuff was coming down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, coming in
supply
via
line.
the rivers.
Yeah. And that was part of your job on the river, right?
Part of the river job was to do that. The daytime they would stop sampans, search, check IDs. Everybody carried an ID card over there.
Okay.
And if you didn't have one, or sometimes they had like fake IDs, so you know, and the patrol people got pretty savvy on how to pick out their boats. They couldn't stop them all. I'm thinking maybe what I read, maybe 60% or so
So
of,
that's
of the
a
boats.
pretty decent percentage.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And then at night they would set waterborne ambushes
Okay.
and watch. They would go by their let's see, scouting reports, intelligence reports. Hey, there's some activity in this area. Why don't you go out and set up? And,
I heard a lot of different things people describing, especially ex-military guys, of military intelligence.
yeah, it's an oxymoron.
I'll let this veteran say that. I'm not going to say it, but you know, let's rejoin our group over here real fast because I'm going to get some introductions going and talk a little bit more about this boat. Hey guys, we were just off on a little sidebar about this river vessel, and I'm glad you took us out here. It is getting hot out here. Are we onto this? We're all on the same page.
Yes.
By the way, just for the record, folks, yesterday it was raining about in 47 degrees. It's the Midwest. You never know what the hell's going to happen. you know.
But you always bring out the nice weather for the TV crew.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
true.
right,
This
right.
is true. So anyhow, thanks for bringing us out to this vessel. We talked to some people here, and as soon as this gentleman puts his beret on here, I think we might get back to him a
Still
little
look
bit.
good here. It hurts to do this.
Your cover, I should
That's
say.
the guy that started this whole thing.
That was right.
Not really.
Is this the man responsible? All right.
Yep.
You look fat in this outfit?
Okay, is he looking tall or what, folks? You know, really. Anyhow, we we talked to the guys here. We didn't get your name.
My name is Chris Metzger.
Hey, Chris. And being in the veterans garage or the shop with these guys every once in a while, what is that like hanging out with these guys?
Well, it can get quite interesting, honestly.
all right.
But I do learn a lot about what they've been through, and being a mom of a veteran, it helps
Right.
understand what they might go through when they're deployed or, when they come back home. So
Yeah.
I'm a mom of a veteran. I'm a wife of a veteran, and many family members are veterans.
And I think I heard these guys talking earlier. She's an honorary veteran.
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
come on.
Honorary veteran.
A veteran
Honorary veteran.
Yeah, I shouldn't even say honorary. You're down.
Well, thank you. They do all the hard work. I mean, I when
Oh.
my son's deployed.
Absolutely. How many? I don't want to ask too many questions about your son's deployment, or I know he's in the Air Force, if I can say that.
Air Force.
But how
17
many?
years.
How many deployments has he been on?
He's been on 4 deployments.
Wow, that's serious
He just
business.
he just came back from Jordan.
Okay.
He was there 6 months. So he just came back in the last month and a half from Jordan.
My hat's off to his service, and thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Thank every veteran here. And the Veterans Garage is a wonderful place to come visit, and there's lots of memorabilia in there for everyone. And just to sit back and listen to all the eras, Vietnam, World War II, Desert Storm, it's amazing. Even though they didn't serve together,
Yeah.
it's the same camaraderie.
Okay.
Brothers for life regardless.
Okay.
And that is something you can't imagine what that's like. I can't imagine.
No.
I just get to hear it, and I get goosebumps.
Off
So-
camera, that's the second person I've talked to today that mentioned about goosebumps, and if it's more than living it and breathing it. You talk to vets like this and you hear real stories, you get goosebumps. It's the real thing. This isn't a Hollywood set here, folks. When you hear these stories, this is true grit. Really.
Real life.
Yeah.
We just go and do our job. They got to sit home and worry.
Yeah.
Worry's got to be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that, because the what ifs start playing with your mind.
Right.
Yeah. At that, even though we got a little bit breeze going on right now, but you mentioned some memorabilia inside, and you did too.
Yeah.
Is that a special area in the garage given a name?
Well, we call it a sitting room and a display room.
Okay. Can we go at this point? Let's take another quick break and let's walk inside and check out everything that they're talking about in this sitting room. Okay. Chris, is this it?
This is.
Okay, come
the
on.
Veterans
Come on.
Garage.
We're bringing the troops in with us too
We're
here.
going to bring our 2 veterans
Okay.
in.
Wow, I kind of even like the vestibule already.
Yes.
Uh,
And this is Joe's dream
Okay.
of veterans coming together.
Okay, let me jump. I'm sitting next to you and
And
give room for the
sitting
military
here-
guys to come in.
Come on in, guys.
Yeah,
Have a
let's
seat.
let's grab
That's
it.
what this
Do you want to
is
grab a
about.
seat too? Yeah.
So this was Joe's dream to have our veterans come here
Okay.
and
Joe's in the room
just
through there.
just talk, just reminisce, relax, watch movies if they want. He has quite the variety of military movies, and as you can see, all the memorabilia
Absolutely.
from every decade. The uniform on the back wall is actually from a friend of ours.
Okay.
He is in the United States Army. He is deployed right now, and that is for Sean Cap.
Okay.
And his parents are also members of the Veterans Garage, and they do a lot of volunteering as well. They have 2 sons actually right now deployed, one Army, one Air Force.
Okay.
And then their youngest son will be going into the Marine Corps here soon. So
I would imagine some special camaraderie takes place in this room. Some endearing conversations.
yes, and a lot of memories. And like I said, doesn't matter what era they're from,
Yeah.
the brotherhood that they share. Unless you're sitting in the room with them, you really don't understand what that means.
Okay.
I know from my husband's point of view, some of the guys that he has not seen since Desert Storm,
All right.
when they've reconnected, it's like they've never missed a step.
Wow.
And that is something that, as a civilian, I don't understand until I see it.
Okay.
So,
Let me break away from it. Would you guys agree with the statement she just made? Absolutely. When you meet up with buddies or people you served with, or even people you didn't know but shared the same experiences.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, John and I didn't serve together, but since we found each other, we've become pretty good friends. And
Yeah. Okay. Great.
And we're dying off, so we got to get friends right away. Stay in touch.
I learned early on today this man is a master of humor. You can tell right in.
yes, he is.
No, I mean
I know, yeah. Like
And now we have a Desert Storm vet in here.
okay.
Late as usual.
Okay, we just had another person join us again, and for our audience again, you are
Bob Metzger.
Bob. Thanks for coming in. CJ, we have another man hiding at the doorway here, but he's trying to work in the shop and being here at the same time.
He's responsible for all of this.
Anyhow, seriously, I use the word humor, but the seriousness of everything you've said today is heartfelt, and I pick it up strong and clear
Yeah, I got
message,
that
brother.
from-
Yeah. So, when you guys personally walk in this room, and even if you're in here alone, do you find it is a place to relax, meditate, kind of clear your head or anything? Or
I'm honest to a point. I'm blunt.
no, go for it, brother.
Yeah, I've only been here a couple times. It is nice. There's a great setup and everything. And like she said earlier, different eras. My father flew in one of those.
B-29.
He flew B-25, B-17s, B-29s in World War II.
Oh,
My
right.
stepfather landed on Omaha Beach. So there's quite a military
Wow.
connection of different eras and different branches. So yeah, I appreciate that. And we did our thing, but we weren't the first.
Okay.
So
And it's funny you mentioned B-29. If I'm not mistaken, Boeing made that plane. Is that correct?
I think so.
I agree too. So Boeing did their share of a lot of good. We got
yeah.
We got a nod over there, Joe. So
Yeah, he's the one that knows this stuff.
okay. Boeing made a lot of good aircraft. You know, lately they're getting some bad press for commercial aircraft, but hey, they did some heavy. You know, B-17. Look at what that. The missions over Europe. Look at the punishment that plane took with a crew of what was it, 11 or 10, 11 or 12 guys?
I believe it was 12. Okay.
Okay.
29?
I'm talking 17 right now too, but
Oh,
you could tell us
17,
about
okay.
29 too. 10? Okay, okay. But anyhow, you mentioned your father, some memories with your father with that particular B-29 aircraft. I have some memories of my dad like that too, because when he was in the military, he was it was toward the end of World War II, but he had serious problems with his feet that he couldn't, he made it the level of staff sergeant before he was released, but he was actually got permission to wear officer's shoes because he could barely, he was so flat-footed and had such crazy feet that they finally said, we got to cut this guy loose, let him go. Anyhow, he worked at a defense plant when he got home in the Chicagoland area that is now Ford City Mall.
I know it well.
Okay.
Where they built the planes, right?
Exactly, and he was an inspector for major internal engine components on a B-29, primarily crankshafts and stuff like that. I don't know if they had what techniques they had for checking for cracks back then. I know some come to mind called Magnaflux and things like that, which but anyhow, that's what he did. And he was very, very proud of that. Worked some crazy hours, from what I understand, because it was around the time that he first got together with my mom. My mom, he met her when he was in the military. But it's interesting how we're in this room, we're looking at different pieces of military hardware, whether it be Army Air Force, or which it's called in, and or something from infantry, and we have a story that touches home to your family in some way. So, hey, I got to ask. I know there's an adjacent room to this, and I'm hearing rumored that it's something really special. Can we all kind of go in there and take a look? Or
Sure.
Okay.
Watch out for the guy sitting in the doorway.
Yeah.
Should I interview him or what?
He doesn't say much.
He's not.
Find out.
Okay. All right. I see our camera guy's in there already. Let's sneak in. I personally have to see this guy in the doorway here. That's Okay, gentlemen, I kind of see what you mean now. For a radio guy, he is kind of quiet, isn't he? Okay. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Here, jump in there. Let me get on here.
I was just gonna say I love that picture of the autographed young lady, and that'll keep you motivated during the day. I'm sure.
Right.
Or thinking of home or something. I'm telling you. But wow, Chris, can you kind of give us the MO? Well, let's get everybody in here if we can. As many people as we can in the radio room. Can I tap into you, brother?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. All right. First of all, I'm getting a really cool feeling in this room. It feels like I've just interrupted a military operation, and maybe I don't have the right to be here. But wow, what was the inspiration to put this together like this?
Well, the idea was that we knew that people weren't going to come to the Veterans Garage just to work on military vehicles.
Okay.
We wanted this place to be a comfortable place for veterans and patriots to come and relax among things that aren't necessarily militant, not gun collections and things like that.
Okay. Good
Just
point.
some of the things that these people, our armed forces, worked on, or were around. So as we started to set things up, some of the things that I own are here. Nothing has been bought that's in here. Everything has been gifted or is on loan. So folks like Bob, who said, gee, I've got this flag that I've had folded up in my basement since I returned, and I don't really have a place to put it up. Can we display it at the Veterans Garage? Yes. That's a goosebump moment when a gentleman like him says, can you do that? And the flag is actually right behind you. I don't have it hung right at the moment because we're actually in the middle of renovating and moving some things around.
Sure.
We just moved into this location about 3 years ago, and we were in a much bigger facility, and ultimately we're going to be in a bigger facility again.
Okay.
So you see the TV screen
the
right
flat screen
there.
up on the wall there.
Yeah, what that is we have the ability to show an actual movie made by the Army to teach teach men how to run the radio equipment that you see on the one wall. Mm-hmm. And so we have Boy Scout groups that come in, young club members of different organizations that will come, and we'll turn the lights out in here, turn the red lights on that are above there, and they'll sit and watch the movie and actually see the equipment that the movie talks about.
Wow.
And I tell you, they leave here actually knowing how to run the equipment.
Wow. Not to
So-
mention the experience of the moment.
Right.
And feeling it. Especially if you dim the lights and you put on the radio room lights.
Yeah.
It gives it this is a for real deal.
And what's even harder to comprehend is that most of the equipment that you see in here is Vietnam era.
Okay.
And if you take the bottom two, the stuff that's on the floor, and about 2/3 of the stuff on the second shelf, all of that went into a shelter that you couldn't stand up or barely turn around in.
Wow.
There's actually pictures of it right here. So that radio equipment, starting with this end, is right here.
Okay.
There's the two telegraphs, and then there's two little units called dynamotors. This is a cutaway of this shelter. And so that's what the shelter looks like. And we have a shelter, we have a truck, we have the radio, so at some point...
I got to ask at this point too, in a mobile shelter like that, how do you modulate the signal, and what kind of an antenna do you have?
Well, you can actually see it here.
Oh yeah, okay.
They would just let that antenna up.
Okay.
And what the thing about all this radio equipment that we don't realize is that all of this does less than your cell phone.
Okay. That's
It's a
unbelievable.
fax
That's a lot of hardware there.
It's a fax machine. It's for
Wow.
sending via radio a transcribable or a printed document.
Okay.
So you can put a document in this one. It will not scan it, but it will teletype it into the radio through a converter and off. And if somebody sends one, it comes into this unit, which is cut off in the picture,
Okay.
and then it goes to this and it prints it out.
Wow.
And in that room, that stuff is very hot. That room would be about 110 degrees, no light, and loud as hell.
Wow.
And our guys, that's how they communicated. So, and I can't help but introduce you to three people real quick. My father
Okay, go for
was
it.
Bill Warner.
Let's get a close-up
My
on
dad
it.
was in World War II. He served at Cherry Point, North Carolina. He was an aviation boatswain's mate, actually one of the first,
Okay.
because it was the first time that the Navy was using PBYs and PBMs to patrol the East Coast. And so his job was, as you can see, that's actually him standing there. They would deploy them, and when they came back, they would bring them back on shore, put the wheels on them.
Wow.
And two different planes, PBYs and PBMs. And then to the left there, without a wig, so I'm sorry she's not complete today, but that's my mom.
Wow.
My mother served in the Civil Air Patrol.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then when you go to the left a little bit, you'll see a shadow box. That's
Yeah.
all information about my father-in-law, who served in World War II. The map above the shadow box is a map of the route that his group was on, going from Normandy, France, right after the invasion, all the way to Germany.
Wow.
And a little further left is an actual mannequin with his uniform, his dog tags, and a replica of the type of M1 Garand rifle they carried. The flag below to the right is his guidon flag.
Okay.
And in the shadow box, down in the lower right corner, there's a little locket. And you'll see it's got the Eiffel Tower on the front of it. After my father-in-law passed away, and nobody really knew much about what he did, because he didn't talk about it like most veterans.
Yeah.
But after he had passed, my wife had his discharge papers.
Okay.
And I got them, I went through them, I did a lot of research and found out a lot about Paul, including a book that was written about the group he was in, with
Really?
a picture of him in it, which is in the shadow box also.
Okay.
But the interesting thing about that locket is the Eiffel Tower on the front. Where do you think he got it?
I'm gonna lean toward France, but
He was in Paris, and
Wow.
nobody in his family knew it.
wow.
And that locket he's had since he was in the service. He'd never left the country other than to go to war. Never left the state. He was born in Indiana. When he left to go to war, he worked for the railroad. He enlisted because all of his friends and people that he knew had already gone. He decided to get involved. He went. When he came back, they moved to Illinois, and he lived there the rest of his life.
Okay.
Always in a third floor apartment. Never bought a home. Never had a loan for anything. Never borrowed money. Nothing. And it's all obviously due to his perspective on life after having
Right.
served
Right.
and seeing the things that he saw in
Right.
World War II.
Wow.
So I'm honored to have him here, and he rides with me in every vehicle I'm in.
We're honored that you shared that story because as
you.
I'm listening to you, I'm holding a microphone, but you have me completely mesmerized. I'm waiting for the next sentence. And
Yeah, it's
Of the-
there's more to the story. It's a very interesting story.
Sure,
But sadly, I found out most of it after he had passed.
Yeah.
But having known him for as long as I did, it wasn't too hard to put a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together when you find out what his life was like before he went into war and what he was like when he came back. We only found out a couple of months ago that my mother-in-law actually flew to Massachusetts to marry him right before he left.
Wow.
And we don't know actually whether she flew or drove
Yeah.
from Illinois to
Right.
Massachusetts.
That was a very emotional, difficult era of time to live in.
Yeah, it was.
For love, war, everything, family, country.
And they didn't come back to much either. I mean, I know
No.
we talk about the Vietnam veterans and folks that come back from service without a lot of fanfare, but guys that came back after the first wave of guys that came, and there were parades and all that, That faded off. By the time he got home, he got off a bus 2 blocks from his house, walked home, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, critically, but
No,
we don't
but-
realize
Yeah.
how many people do this, and they get ramped up to be something that's outside of their moral standards. They're trained to put aside basic moral standards that they believe you never step aside from those, but you're told you have to. So when you give that up and you start behaving using the parameters you're given by the military, what happens when you come back? Is it not easy to say that would be a conflicted individual?
Yeah.
So all these things that we hear about, with PTSD and suicide, just from knowing that man and knowing his story, I get it, and it troubles me. I'd give anything to have either him or my dad back to talk about it, because it's sad that he came back and lived the life that he did with what was in his head, and nobody to talk to about it.
I was just going to say, and there was that I know of, no dedicated resources for anybody to be used as a sounding board, other than, and then like you said, most vets, they keep a lot of stuff and they keep everything inside,
Yeah.
and you have to be in their comfort zone for them to start talking.
I'm glad you said comfort zone. That's what we want this to be.
I think
We
you've
want it
achieved
to
that.
be, and now I get given credit, and I appreciate that. People say, Joe did this, Joe did that, this is Joe's, this is, I get that, but it's important for me to deflect it, because none of this is possible without people like Paul and my dad and all these veterans here. There has to be something that gives you a reason to move in a direction. So it starts there, but even putting this together was a matter of having people like Chris and Bob when it was just painted walls, and I wasn't sure what to do,
Sure.
because I didn't want to do the wrong thing. I'm not a veteran. So this is a listening experience of having guys come in and say, hey, well, what if we took some camouflage? And I want to see, that'd be kind of cool. And I'd say, sure, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Whatever anybody would think of. The shelving here was built by Dave, who was a carpenter after he served in the Navy in Vietnam. And I had all these radios, and I said, oh, we got to set them up, but they're really heavy. I'll build a shelf. And 2 days later,
Nice and
he
heavy
built
duty
that.
too.
yeah, I could stand on it if you believe that. So the interesting thing to me about this that most people don't realize is what's in this room was brought to this room by people that had things. Those 2 radio, everything I look at, I see the face of the person that said,
There you go.
hey, why don't you, would you mind? And it's all with it's so humble. It's not, hey, look at this thing I got, put that in the garage. It's, I don't know if you want this or not, but, if you're looking for stuff for the garage, maybe you'd put that. And you're thinking, from my perspective, it's, are you kidding me? You don't know what an honor it is.
Right.
So everything that you see here is somebody's, it's a part of somebody's life. And we talked at one point about, maybe we should have that story by each thing. And then we said, no, just let it be about everybody. Because there's a lot of people that'll never be here or never see it. And it shouldn't matter. It should be about everybody.
The perspective I have in here too is I don't know the individual stories of the people that modestly came in and brought a piece in for you, and asked you if you wanted it for in here, and of course you wanted it. But when I walk in, just the experience itself as I'm looking around, it's creating a feeling, and that feeling is then telling me my own story. I don't know if I'm explaining it really well, but the idea is I get it.
Yes.
Okay, and I feel like if I want to walk over and touch one of those radios, and then the other thing that goes in my mind, and I don't want to take this moment for a minute, but I'm thinking of all the people since this piece of equipment was brand new that touched that equipment, and for what reason, and what their life was like, and were they heroes? Were they scared? Did they miss being home? You know what I mean? I'm thinking
Yes.
of all those feelings around the people that might have used that piece of equipment for the last 50 frickin' years.
Well,
know.
you're right. I shouldn't say you're right, but I agree with you that when I look at an individual thing, some things I associate immediately with the person
Right.
because there might be a story there.
Absolutely.
But when you look at the radios, yes, I could tell you where I got that set of radios, but it's not really important because in that case, I go where you went.
Okay.
I think about the number of guys that were trained on those radios, that you made phone or calls on those radios for help, for cover, for whatever, to get in or to get out of a situation, and what that was like. And that's why I mentioned the fact that the shelter that those were in was loud, 110 degrees. I mean, it had to be mind-numbing to have to sit there and wait for a message. And not every minute of every day of a veteran's life is busy.
Mm-hmm.
There's downtime that, what do you think about? So, I'm sorry, I get long-winded on that.
No, that's
but
okay.
You mentioned about somebody bringing something in, and Chris, I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to do it because it had a huge effect on, there's a phrase, I used to have a poster of the bow of an Iowa-class battleship with the three 16-inch guns, barrels pointing right at you.
Yeah.
And the line underneath it was, the success of one endeavor is the power to fulfill another. Every time you succeed at something, it gives you more confidence, more strength, more ability to do another thing. And early on in the other garage, we had painted the rooms, we had started to set up a sitting room, and Chris came in to look at it, and she said, this is, I really appreciate what you're doing. I think it's a great idea, and I respect her and love her, and was really interested in her opinion. Yeah. And she came back, I don't know, was it that day or was it like a week later?
Probably a week later.
I think about a week later, Chris came to the garage. There wasn't much going on, and she said, I have something I want to show you. And it was in a box, and it turned out to be a boot that was made by her former husband. And you can imagine something like that, when you move on in your life, you wonder, where do you keep something like that? What do you do with it? As important a keepsake or piece of memory that it is. And she handed it to me and said, could this be here? Oh. And it is here. It's out there in the sitting room, and I'll let Chris show it to you. And
Chris, do you mind if we put it on camera for a sec
Put it
there?
on camera.
Okay, let's...
Not me.
It reminds me every day, because I come in here every day and I look at that boot, and it reminds me, because I need certain things to kind of keep my brain on the right track. But every time I look at that boot, I think of all the people that have said or done something that caused this to be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one thing, but it's one thing that helped a lot of other things happen.
Okay, I gotcha.
So that's the boot.
Okay, and at that, let's seriously take a look at this.
Let me move
Sure.
a couple things before you shoot.
No, that's okay.
Oh, earlier I mentioned Aaron Toppin.
I'm sorry, repeat that again? Earlier?
I mentioned earlier that we have a vehicle that's dedicated
Yes.
to Aaron Toppin.
Okay.
This is a little thing that we put together about
If you
Aaron.
can turn it around and let the camera
Sure.
and our audience take a look. Your audience, I should say now.
Yeah.
And run us through Aaron real fast then.
Yeah, Aaron was 19 years old. He died June 9th in Gaza Village, Afghanistan. He was assigned to the 2nd Battalion, 12th Infantry, and they were caught by friendly fire, unfortunately, and he lost his life. Wonderful young man. He was so committed to the military and being a part of the military that it just was an incredible loss. But through Aaron's loss, his mom and some friends, some other family members started a foundation, and they do a lot of things to keep his memory alive. We, as I said, dedicated one of the vehicles to him.
Yes.
But when we take this vehicle out, or when we go to events, it's amazing how many people are affected by this.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have an experience themselves, maybe not the loss of a family member, but like Chris mentioned, she's got a son in the military.
Right.
So when families find out about things like this, or they see us in parades, it's something that they can show their appreciation to, a way of expressing it. And so I've often told Pam, his mom, that through his loss, people have had the opportunity to grieve, to be thankful, and to remember that this does happen. And it happens when there's really nothing happening that has to be that critical, but it happens.
Yeah.
And she's a great inspiration It's
I
always
might
fun.
add real fast too, quick sidebar before we go to the booth, but I've been at parades where your vehicles have been, and sometimes unannounced, all of a sudden someone in active military is home and shows up in uniform to view the parade. And I've noticed that they're welcome to walk right along next to your vehicles
yeah.
or be right along with you guys in their current active military. And I think, God, that is such a nice thing to do. And they're so proud to be out there with you too. So
In wartime, it's not unusual if you watch movies or videos or film of different conflicts to see trucks with guys packed inside, hanging off the sides, hanging off of jeeps. That's our dream, is to be going down the street
Wow.
with veterans packed on our vehicles, and we don't have enough trucks to carry them.
Wow.
Because I don't want to look at them on the curb waving at the truck and thanking me for driving a military vehicle. I want them in the truck.
Yeah,
Because that's
yeah.
where they belong.
That's a very good
Either
point.
driving it or riding on
Yeah,
it.
damn it.
And these days, over the last 10 years, we've watched the evolution of a comfort in veterans wearing baseball caps that say World War II, Vietnam, whatever.
Right.
Go back 20 years, you didn't see that.
No.
Go back 25 years, nothing like that.
I'll tell
But
you
now it's prevalent. And so when you're driving down the street and you look and you see all these veterans, you can't believe how many veterans are watching a parade.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can think of is, gosh, I wish you were in this truck with us. That would be so awesome. So that's the message we try to get out.
And you just struck a memory loose, and again, I hate to keep on bringing stuff up, but I can remember my high school, a little bit in high school. Maybe I started to see it definitely in college years. Like I said, I'm not a veteran like you're not also, but understand it. And I would see guys, sometimes very buff and cut, muscular guys, that'd be wearing these black jackets. I might get emotional here. That says, "I served my time in hell." And they would say where they were now. And I didn't understand that right away. I'm thinking, what the hell is, until I started talking to veterans. And they were willing to talk to me. And I worked with them in various places. And then I realized, yeah, dude, you served your time in hell. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. And at that, let's...
Chris, you're up.
Chris, it's up to you. Is it okay if
You can show the booth. Still show
can-
me.
okay, can we shoot it from there? Would someone like to pick it up and at least maybe hold it?
All right.
If you want to do that, and
Yeah,
we have
that's
your
fine.
hands in that, that's. Can I get your audio of how this was put together? If you could. If
My
it's
late
up to you.
husband went to school in college, and one of the classes he had to take was ceramics.
Okay.
So he decided, because he loved his jump boots, so he decided that he was going to make a ceramic jump boot.
Okay.
So this is the end result. When he passed, I took his military memorabilia and put it on here to decorate it. His dog tags, his name badge, his short timer pin, which is a pin they get when they're getting ready to come home. It's called a
when you're
short timer.
short, yeah.
Yeah, your time's almost up. So when Joe had the idea for the Veterans Garage, I didn't want this sitting at my house, maybe getting broken. One day I will give it to my son,
Sure.
but for now, it needs to be here.
Yeah.
That's what this place is for our veterans. So,
When I viewed it, first of all, your former husband was quite an artist with ceramics. That's pretty detailed.
yeah, he did
Because when I looked
good.
at this across the room, I thought that was some old leather that's been cleaned up.
Oh, no.
And I realized, well, this is ceramic.
Yeah,
this
he
came out
made
of a
this.
kiln,
Yep.
But what you took it to bring it to the next step with name tags, badges, and dog tags, and I can go on. You brought it to life.
Well, that was
So-
the whole idea. These could have sat in a drawer for
Sure.
years to come or whatever. So we put the shoestring in, we decorated it, and
Right.
it's in honor of him and the service that he did.
And I think we all agree it's in a very appropriate place
It's
right
in the
now.
best place it can be.
Yeah.
It really is.
You know what? Thank you so much for sharing this. And I know how tough it was for you to do that. And my hat's off to you. And your husband, your current husband too. God bless you guys.
He's the best.
Yeah, you know what? We're gonna go over there and give him a hug. Right? Yeah, there is tells it all right there. So, at this point, we've been here a few minutes. We looked at some things, and I want to thank everybody that's been a part of this. Joe especially. This is It has been a humbling experience for us. We came here this morning not knowing what to expect, and our overall thing was to kind of look at that Nike missile and kind of see how that was progressing and the plans with that. And then all of a sudden, a whole different world opened up, and a bunch of relationships were just made. And I never, in my wildest, would have expected this when I got up this morning. And I want to thank you guys for sharing your experiences. That is now made an experience for AC Variety to always remember. And we'll certainly let you know, or Dave Paninsky that owns acvariety.com, we'll certainly let you know when this goes to air and it's finished and it's edited. And I know what his capabilities are because of his educational background with television. It's going to be a super piece to look at. So again, guys, bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. Last comments? Or?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
If we have a struggle here, it's how to get this, not just the word out, but how to help people see this for what it is. And I think you could understand that if I tried to describe this to you over the phone or
Not
in
gonna
print,
work.
it doesn't get there. And I've likened it to building a duck pond. If you
Okay.
want a duck pond in your backyard,
Okay.
because you like ducks,
Okay, take me there.
so you could figure out how to go and dig a big hole, right? And you could find out what kind of plantings you should have around the perimeter, what kind of fish should be in the water. You could find all that, right? But when you got done, the one thing you would not do is walk out in the backyard and yell, "Hey, ducks! Come on in!" It wouldn't work, would it?
Absolutely not.
Can't do that with veterans either. You can't say you need to come and see this or it's
Yeah.
a great place. And a civilian or a patriot, that's maybe a little harder, maybe not, because they may want to come and see the memorabilia. But we're about the experience, and I have not figured out in all these years, even with discussions with everybody that comes here, how to put it in words.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you gentlemen have done for us today is help to visualize what we can't say in words.
Wow.
And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing it. It's something that we've been wanting to do for a long time. We wouldn't be good at doing it ourselves. It takes having two gentlemen like yourself walk through it for the first time, experience it, feel it, and the comments that you've made are phenomenal because they hit every point that we would try to make with folks. So we're on Facebook. And it's easy. It's all easy to remember. It's just Veterans Garage. You can Google us. You can find us on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. And all that stuff is kind of just getting started. And there's no membership. It doesn't cost anybody anything. Just come.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to come and just watch, great. If you want to come and work or help out, great. If you want to drive, great. If you want to ride, great. Whatever you want to do or would get out of this, it's here for you. It's here for other people. It's not mine. It's the Veterans Garage.
Got it.
Okay? Jim, thank you. Clint, thank you very much.
And thank you for your very kind experiences. And again, folks, if you want any more information, as you just heard from Joe, but also, I'm going to say this on behalf of the boss there behind the camera, I'm sure he would agree with this. You can contact acvariety.com if you want to get some information, and we'll hook you up with these guys. So it's all good. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all. And most of all, thank you for watching. It was a pleasure to bring this production to you. Goodbye now.